up, everyone? Welcome to the Impact Show. Today is June 15th, 2017, and this is episode 6. Episode 6 already.
Wow.
Of our 24-part series.
What a journey.
I'm Bob.
I'm Nick.
And everything we do on the show is to help growth leaders, the marketing leaders of their organization, overcome common obstacles and create breakthroughs.
And that's why we call it Making an Impact.
This episode is being broadcasted live on Facebook Live, and then it's going to be repurposed.
It's happening
on
right
iTunes.
now. Not pre-recorded.
Not pre-recorded. Live on Facebook Live right now.
Wow.
And then it's going to be on iTunes, it'll be on the Impact blog, and it'll be on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So Nick, I'm not in the office today.
Bob, you are
in the office
not.
All week.
You are a globetrotter this week, my friend. Where in the world is Bob Ruffolo?
This has been a very fun week for me. So I am currently in Tallinn, Estonia. So a good friend of ours, Pep Laja, over at Conversion XL, or CXL now, they are having an event called Digital Elite Camp, which is all about optimization, traffic, and growth. So I'm honored to be one of the speakers at the event. So I'll be speaking tomorrow, and my topic is going to be on how we used the Conversion XL Research XL model, and that helped us really grow our business and really improve our stats over the last few years. So
I read those notes, Bob. It's good stuff. I mean, even just seeing you package our kind of growth story and how we manage the marketing processes around it, I'm like, yeah, we do that. That is good, you know? So I'm excited for you to share that story.
So yeah, I'm super pumped to be here. Some awesome speakers here as well. So we mentioned Pep, Morgan Brown is here as well. Just a whole great cast. So it's really interesting to be here in Estonia. I've never been. It's actually my first time in Europe.
But that's fantastic, man. That's really cool. And didn't you go to Dublin too? You stopped over at DubSpot on the way?
Yeah, so instead of just going straight to Estonia, I decided to have a long layover in Dublin, and I got to see DubSpot, which is really cool. It was really cool to go over there. Their office reminds me very much of what the Cambridge office looked like at HubSpot when they were at about the same size when we first met HubSpot, and there were about 300 or so people. It's really cool. And Nick, you were there. Yes. You remember those days.
Yep. Traveled there. I mean, I was there at HubSpot during the time that sort of architectural palette was there. And then also visited the DubSpot offices, maybe a year and a half, a couple years after they opened. And I know what you're saying, Bob. It has very similar, like sort of white and orange sort of palette there versus now there's a lot of wood tones. It's kind of the hip thing that's come into the latest renovations there at HubSpot with more like,
well, actually, Nick, you may not know this. The space that you visited, they've already outgrown that.
It's gone, right? Yeah. When I was there were people like in the hallways. They were stacking desks on top of each other. Already.
So they had a location. They moved into a much larger space next door, filled that up, and now they're overflowing back to their original location while they're waiting for 2 more floors to be built out. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Like crazy. Bringing inbound. I mean, that tells you a lot about the global adoption and growth of inbound is just look at these indicators, the Dublin office. And I've just come back, Bob, so and the rest of the team knows what I've been up to is I just came back. Tom DeCipio, who's also our sales leader here at Impact, and I went and spent 2 days at HubSpot doing in-depth, really like cutting edge sales training, the latest of like inbound sales techniques over there at HubSpot.
Could be your one thing that you're keeping your eye on?
It might be, Bob. I've kept my eye on a lot of things in these last couple of days. So I figured, other than, better than a blog article that I've been reading or stories I've been following is the latest training and tips. I could definitely unpack a couple nuggets for folks.
It's very HubSpot-y week for us, huh?
Oh, hugely. But Bob, I feel like as we want to do talk about our sponsor of this series, Impact Live, sure. I think it's worth mentioning since you're over there at, CXL's program, you brought the leadership team out to Conversion XL's conference here in the United States as well, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So you make the investment of going to events, you drive the miles, and you travel the distance to share your knowledge and stuff like that. And I think just speaking of going global and stuff, that's what's expected of marketers today is to go out and share, to go seek the knowledge, and then to go out and share the knowledge. And I think for those listening, if you want to hold yourself to a sort of a benchmark, am I growing in my career, my leadership, my footprint as a growth leader? You want to look at what conferences am I investing in going to? How many of my team members am I getting to go? And then eventually, which conferences am I getting invited to speak at? And I don't think, Bob, you would even have this relationship and this great opportunity to spread our brand and to get the word out if you hadn't already invested in getting to know these folks and getting into their events earlier on, right?
Well, it's all about the networking. It's about the networking, and it's important for me to make relationships with people like Pep. He's somebody I respect a tremendous amount. And if I didn't go to this event a couple of years in a row, I never would have built that personal relationship, which is, it's great for us. It's great for them. So it's a big win.
He's been on the website throwdown with us, because we give, they give, So that's the why, folks. You see what I just did there? That's the why. I just built that. I built that top of the funnel there for you. Now let's talk about what you're going to do about it. I want you to just a quick reminder to consider our event in Hartford, August 1st and 2nd of this year. Just go head over to the Impact homepage. You'll see Impact Live, the button there. And I'll just end with this. If there's anything that is keeping you from going, your team's not bought in, your boss isn't bought in, scheduling, you're not sure about the agenda, you want to know more, will you be able to network? What can you get out of it? Just like we always ask you here on this, contact us at the Impact Show at impactbnd.com. You can tweet at us, whatever it takes, let us know, because for those people who are passionate and growth leaders who want to get there to get the knowledge and networking, we want to make it happen for you.
Awesome.
That's all I have for that for Impact Live, Bob.
So speaking of investing and going to events, I mean, this has been a really busy week for us because we also attended another event this week, which unfortunately I couldn't go, but Kyle and Vin did. They went up to Boston and they went to Wistiafest.
Wistiafest. We're all over the place.
And the one thing I'm keeping my eye on, because I got this email I came across, I'm sure it was one of the major announcements at Wistiafest this year, brand new tool. It's called Soapbox, and it's a Chrome extension. So if you're by your computer right now, type in Wistia Soapbox. It's a Chrome extension. Install it. It is the coolest, easiest thing I've ever seen. In fact, right before I hopped in this the Impact show today, I had a quick call with Vin, and I asked Vin to kind of walk me through it. He showed me within 2 seconds. I just made the most remarkable video. It was just a tutorial video. There was me on the screen, and right next to it was my desktop. And when I was sharing, I was able to zoom in to a specific section of the video of what was on my screen that I wanted to point out. I could switch over so it was just me, and it took like 2 seconds to make a video like that, and then you could just share it. It's an incredible tool. And I think the other thing that's really important to note here is kind of the marketing behind it. I was talking to a lot of people at HubSpot about this, and HubSpot actually did really well. It's having that one thing that's very buzzworthy in your marketing. If we know HubSpot, we know they had Website Creator very early on in the day. And there was a lot of people that used Website Creator for free and immediately became aware of not only just HubSpot, but also aware of the things that they could do into their marketing to improve. So it was a great way to get brand awareness and to get some early leads. And quite frankly, that's exactly what Wistia just did with this Chrome extension. They found a problem, and they create a really awesome free tool that can live in anyone's browser. And to be able to use it, you have to register. So you have to give them all your information. And this thing is going to just take off like crazy. Is the coolest tool. I think everyone should be using it, but I think we also need to know the marketing story behind it.
Yeah, it's a smart move. And as we all know, there's more competitors in your market, just like there is in Wistia's market every year. So if you want to stay ahead, Wistia's had a leading position. They want to stay there. They've got peers and competitors nipping at their heels. You got to keep shipping remarkable experiences for folks. You got to step your game up. But there's going to be more competitors in your industry, in almost every industry, year after year. So they have to keep stepping the game up. And it looks like they've done it again here.
Absolutely. There's another thing I'm keeping my eye on too. Is that right? Can I have 2 things this week?
I think you can, Bob. I think we're going to allow that.
So I actually passed this,
you get 2.
Yeah.
You know?
So this came across my news feed. I follow Marketing Land. I think that's one of the best sources for news. Everything seems very relevant. And I'll be quick on this one, but it looks like Apple is trying to get into the Messenger game. So how can they be using iMessages for business? And that's what it looks like they released and they're trying to solve. So it looks like you can build users from mobile apps right now. It seems like the primary use case for it right through the app to have that chat communication. And then the person who receives it on the other side will receive the communication via iMessage. So kind of very similar to Facebook Messenger. They noted in the article that it seems like Apple's more focused right now on human to human, while some of the other brands like Microsoft and certainly Facebook and Slack to a certain extent, Drift, are focused on messenger bots. So I thought that was very interesting as well, that this one's focused more human to human. I am worried, though, about one thing. I'm worried about how many platforms there's going to be to message a company. You know, if you have, everyone's got a Facebook page, right? And, you know, people, the market's going to get used to starting to message people through Messenger. If you open that up as a channel, right? Just like we saw with Twitter. Twitter's a channel that's opened up. Everyone expects to be able to message the company right through a Twitter to their Twitter profile. So as more and more channels for communication are going to be opening up, I worry about how businesses are going to be able to handle all those. And I'm not sure if there's a tool that's out there right now that can bring them all into one place, but if not,
somebody with a SaaS product is begging for us to be like, oh, my thing that aggregates all, you know, tell them. But I completely agree, Bob. It's a very legitimate concern, but I feel that the light at the end of the tunnel can be, well, I'm sure we had similar concerns in business when email was taking on. I don't know if anybody here, you know, I'm 33. I don't know if other folks were there when email really started to come in and change and disrupt from more paper-based, phone-based communication culture. But I'm sure they were like, we're all going to have our own email inbox, you know, how are we all going to manage that, you know, amidst everything else that we're doing. So I hope, probably with the help of some tools, which we're yet to discover, it'll become more manageable. But over time, you kind of have to say, well, how can the business and our behaviors adjust? Not going to be easy. Even today, Bob, I'm sure you feel this. It's just like I'm already juggling 3 or 4 different platforms to be as efficient and effective as we are. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how that evolves for sure.
So Nick, what's your one thing this week?
Well, folks, you know, I just had, my eyes were opened in these last couple of days. I like to think I'm pretty decent. I've got pretty good instincts in terms of sales and personal service and that type of thing. But it was great to spend 2 days with some people that I consider part of our family of HubSpot legends, you know, with Dan Tyre, who was employee number 6, one of the first sales reps at HubSpot, David Winehouse, who I worked with in producing sales training for HubSpot's global marketing agency channel. And he's continued to evolve and improve the training he does there. Catherine Ann Durham, who is one of the most tenured senior sales reps at HubSpot, shared, you know, the folks were just coming in and out. David McNeil, who's the head of HubSpot's partner channel, who helped helped manage hundreds of sales reps at Salesforce.com and grew their revenue millions of dollars. I mean, we got to hang out with these folks and just spend some time with them. So what I thought I would just drop for the folks here, because I know we're not all in the agency business like we are, but I think that these questions are important if you are trying to sell your own internal stakeholders on inbound, is to really understand your persona better and what's standing in their way. So if I may, I'm just going to drop a couple of things for you to think about that were shared with us, some categories where if you're trying to get your own team adopting more inbound practices to drive your growth, there's probably reasons, maybe they're not good reasons, but there's reasons that folks will delay, and you need to call them out and know what they are. And maybe I'll do a blog post on this at some point, Bob, and put some of this in the show notes at the very least. But there were things like understand the emotional reasons for delay. You may recall I spoke about this probably in episode 1 or 2, that I was starting to listen to the 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss, which I thought was so fascinating as somebody who tries to help marketers and sales leaders change every day, is the emotional aspects that keep us from making a change. We think it's the budget, it's the time or whatever. No, sometimes it's just emotion, and we need to be conscious of what they are. So Dan Tyre talked about emotional reasons people delay on growing and changing for inbound is inertia. It's just a pretty big leap. If we don't change necessarily, it won't hurt us today. It may hurt us later. We may not get fired today, but it may really threaten us later. So you may want to, but in order to counteract that, you may want to ask yourself, what happens if somebody's searching for us today and our company doesn't come up first? Where are they going to go? They're not just not going to go to you. They're going to go to your competitors, the competitors that I talked about earlier that we're getting more and more of every day in your space. They talked about search on Amazon. How many, just search razors on Amazon. There's 15,000 people that will sell you razors. This is the most boring commodity, you know, you can think of. and there's 15,000 in just that category. Look at craft brew and beers. What happened there? Another one was personal risk. If I stick my neck out for this and it fails, it could threaten my career. But you also want to think about it could be a career defining move if it succeeds. And we have lots of evidence to prove that it can succeed. And obviously there's organizations like ourselves that can help. There's company or political risk. Oftentimes, and I hate to say this, sales feels that going inbound could threaten them, could threaten their way of doing things, could threaten the systems they have set up and the value that they feel they bring, being that person who generally sources and deals with the leads. But the pushback is you may want to think about, honestly, if those folks feel threatened, they may not be a good fit. And Bob, you've brought this up before in previous episodes. Sometimes, and we'll probably talk about it today a little bit, is you got to make sure everybody's a good culture fit for your team. And if certain reps are causing political barriers to transforming to do what you got to do for inbound and to grow, and they want to see if we could actually use some of that overhead budget for the marketing team, is what they suggested. And people also, I'll end with this, don't understand the pace of inbound today. Yes, you folks may have heard or told others that inbound takes some time, right, Bob? I mean, it takes a few months sometimes for the blog post to bear fruit. But in our world, every week counts. People who don't visit your company are going to go somewhere else. Those leads will go to the competition. And if we know that it's going to take some time to get those results, then we've got to start now. And this was the last soundbite that stuck with me, is not, we ask often, Bob, when do you want the website project to start? When do you want the campaigns to begin? When is the product launch happening? We search for these starting points, but Dan Tyre challenged us when we're helping folks plan is to ask, when do you want the yield by? When do you want the customers by? That's where we need to count back and reverse engineer from. Because you can always push off getting, when do you want to start by? Well, I thought we were going to get started last month. We could push it off another month. But when you want the customers by, that's very telling. We should be planning and setting urgency around that. Those were just some of many nuggets I got from the last couple of days here, Bob, hanging out with some of the best and the most pioneering salespeople at HubSpot.
That's awesome, man. I'm so glad you went to that.
Oh, dude, so much.
First off, Dan Tyre is one of the most inspirational people I've ever met. You'd have a really hard time not getting juiced up when you're around Dan Tyre. So I'm sure you probably get the fist bumps from him, right?
Oh, lots of fist bumps.
Lots of fist bumps with him.
I think we should talk to him about maybe coming to Impact Live next year. You know,
I would love to have him. Yeah. He's such a great guy. And, you know, it's very applicable because a lot of what you just talked about is very relevant to what we talked about last week, which is turning those inbound leads into sales opportunities. And that reminds me, Iris, can we have you tune in? Because I think you had a question from last week you wanted to bring up. Is that correct?
Hey, guys. Yeah, there was actually one question from last week. It was from Fina. She's a pretty loyal commenter on this show. Pretty much every show she leaves some of her thoughts in the comments.
Love it.
We are huge fans of Fina.
Feeds me.
She had a question about one tip we talked about was instantly connecting with leads that fill out forms on the website. She just pointed out smaller companies who can't afford to be paying someone to monitor that all day. She was just wondering how they can manage to have such a rapid response time if they don't have that asset in hand.
That's a great question. And, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind, Nick, you probably would agree with me, is priorities, right? If you're making the investment and doing all this digital marketing and you're paying for these leads, and as soon as they come in, if you're not doing what it takes or still able to set up the processes to respond to those in a rapid way, you're really flushing your marketing dollars down the drain. So now, that can sound harsh, especially if you're an entrepreneur and maybe you're just one person. Okay, I can understand. Maybe you can have a little bit of a longer response time because, listen, there you don't have the same resources that bigger companies have. I get that, but you really need to solve for that. So, is there anything that you can do to get creative to make sure those leads aren't hanging and they're response to in a very human-to-human way when they want human-to-human interaction? As quickly as possible before they're on the competitor's website and before they completely moved on from you.
Yep. I mean, you said it, Bob. Was about prioritization. This is what the business is all about: is generating growth and new revenue and new customer relationships. And at the very least, it's true. You can send out the instant email, the autoresponder email, and set some expectations about, we're going to check at the very least if you feel like you can't do this in the short term. But after that, I mean, I would ask yourself, what do you do? Once you fill out, if you're shopping around, you go to a vendor, you fill out a form, you're not, in general, I feel you're not just going to say, well, that was the one vendor, I filled out the form, I'm all set, I'm not going to contact anybody else. You probably have just contacted another organization before you filled out this form, and you're probably going to browse around and pick another organization and fill out their form or call them. So I feel like we set the culture here at Impact that everybody knows this is top priority, is being responsive to people who are potentially looking to do business with us. And we all understand if we're in the middle of an internal meeting, if someone needs to look down briefly because a form notification just popped up and they need to shoot an email to coordinate for somebody else who's not in the meeting to pick up the phone and call that person.
That's right. It's part of the culture.
Right. This happens every day. I'm not BSing here. And anybody in our organization and your organization can learn. You don't have to learn this. This is innate. To pick up the phone and say, hi, you just called us. I saw you just filled out the form. Can I line up some time that works for you? And if you want, I'd like to even do this, is come up with a few standard questions everybody could ask. They're not trying to sell. You don't need someone who can schmooze. It's just someone who can call a number, acknowledge an activity that just happened, and book a meeting.
Amen, brother. Yeah. Amen. All right.
I hope that was helpful. I love that question.
Great question.
Yeah.
Let's dig into the topic of the day. Mm-hmm. And the topic of the day is building a successful marketing team. Mm-hmm. So before we do that, I want to remind everybody, live show. Certainly would love to hear your questions, your comments, your feedback, anything that you want to say. We could bring it up on the show. We try to do that every week. This is going to be a topic that I don't think we're going to be able to cover all in one episode. No. How to build a successful marketing team. And what I want to do today is kind of outline some of the basics of maybe the things that we've learned that's been effective and what we've seen work in the market and building an effective marketing team. Yeah. But we want to hear more from the audience. So we want to hear from you guys. What are your real challenges? Like anything that I'm talking about, if it doesn't make sense or you're not sure how to do it and you think maybe we should just do a whole episode, dive deeper into it, we are certainly open to doing that.
And listen, if folks aren't comfortable, I completely want to echo Bob's request to the group here. But if folks don't feel comfortable, they can't articulate it, think about it and email us, and we can always bring it up later. We don't have to bring up your name either if you prefer.
That's right.
But at a minimum, as Bob's going through the session here, I know I'm curious about this topic, is if you folks can at least share how many people are on your team. Are you an army of one? How many strictly sales type people do you have? Maybe you can at least comment in and share with us here on the thread so that we can comment back to the rest of the group, is how many people are in your team? What roles do you have? Let's at least try to get that out of you as we go through this.
All right, so let's dig right in. You ready? I'm going to make a bold statement.
Super ready.
Inbound marketing doesn't work. And HubSpot doesn't work. And it's been a year and we are going to stop doing inbound marketing. We're going to try doing different things and we're going to cancel HubSpot. Is what a lot of people say. And then you start digging into the reasons why it didn't work. And you look at the marketing that was done. And you look at the way HubSpot was used. And the content that was created was the same Me Too type content that everyone else is creating. There was no real strategy or thought behind the ideas. Nothing was remarkable. Nothing stood out. There was nothing even close to a website grader or a Wistia Soapbox inside the marketing program that has any chance of getting buzz and going viral. And at the end of the year, there's nothing that stands out that came out of the marketing program.
No bold chances taken, no bold experiments conducted.
And now you have to continue asking the question, why did that happen? And it always comes down to people. And that was actually a quote that I picked up from Mike Volpe, Impact Live speaker. But Mike Volpe, and when he said that on the Seeking Wisdom podcast with over there with our friends at Drift. And when you get to the root of any problem, it always ends up being people.
And that's where you got it from, because you said that.
Yeah, I've been saying that a lot.
It's so true. It is just people.
It's always people, at the root of any issue. And really, when you think about a marketing program and why hasn't it gotten traction, why are we not driving leads from our website, or driving new people that are unaware of who we are? Now they are aware of us and they're excited to go through an early sales process, and everything's getting better and better. Why is this not happening? And it ends up what you can almost find in every situation, which I found in almost every situation, is that the people that were hired to do the inbound marketing and that were hired to do the HubSpot, or really just on the marketing team in general, were not qualified to really do the job. And, if you look at, obviously HubSpot is always looking, how can we reduce churn, right? They're always saying, how can we get people having more success with the product and more success with inbound marketing? And you look at the clients that churn, and you look at the marketing teams, and they don't have people with any kind of experience on the team that are doing it. And that's the biggest problem. The ideas are just not there. There's no real strategies, no real plan. It's nothing that really stands out. It's the same old. And I just think that there's people that just, that are doing this job that just don't have the skills to do the job.
Yeah, and you even brought up, there was an article in a couple earlier episodes, right, about skill sets to hire for, and they just don't have that combination, or they don't have people who specialize in some of those.
Yeah. So what I thought I would do is take some time, and that situation I just painted is realistic. I've heard that in almost every situation where people are giving up on their content marketing programs, their inbound marketing programs, their digital marketing programs, their conversion optimization programs. They're giving up on all of it. But at the end of the day, it's just, do they have the right people that could do the job? So let's talk through what building a successful marketing team actually looks like. And, we know this, and I'm going to start with more of the story because we know this from our own experience. It is no secret. I've talked about this so many different places. In full transparency, we didn't have the best team at Impact a few years ago. We've had a bunch of people that were just a few years out of school, and they would get the inbound marketing certification, and they get their HubSpot certification, and they were a few years in the job, and they were trying to solve for clients that had giant growth goals, and they needed to grow, right?
Yeah. But they're also complex. These are complex organizations, and
we just didn't do a good job for them. Nick, we didn't set some of our clients up for success back then, and we know we had to really improve in that area. It's amazing, by bringing people like you, Nick, into the organization, and another dozen people we brought into the organization that had done the job for 3 to 5 to 10 years, 10 plus years, that have actually built successful marketing programs over and over again. They have a proven track record, and being able to apply that for our clients and see how that's completely changed the relationships we've had with our clients, and has completely changed the success that our clients are having with digital marketing or inbound marketing or content marketing or conversion optimization, any of it, right? So it just gets down to the people.
People who've been through the minefield first. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like, I appreciate Bob's support of me, but it's not like I hit everything out of the park, but I've been in the trenches willing to try and do it all, and gotten a lot of lessons learned, got a lot smarter about it. And I think that at the bare minimum is we have people with the passion and the stick-to-itiveness and the ability to learn and improve. That's why that experience is so important. Not just have you gotten straight A's, in marketing for the entire, nobody does.
And you're right. And there's always going to be a place for entry-level marketers, and they're going to have to learn somewhere, and they will. And I think that they have to have a lot of passion, and they need to learn as fast as they possibly can if they want to be as effective and take on responsibility as fast as they can. But in reality, if it's about your organization, it's about building that marketing team that's going to be successful, you really need to start with people that are proven, that have done it before.
That's it.
So I have some tips, and I wrote down 6 tips here. Number 1, Nick, I would like to hear your opinion on all 6 of these. I'm not even sure if I ran these by you yet.
Well, I'll keep it brief for the sake of our time, but yes, absolutely.
Number 1, for my tips, some people say that they hire for culture and then they train for skills. I don't believe in that, believe it or not. I think you have to hire for culture and skill. You have to have both, especially on your first marketing team hire or one of your early marketing team hires. So we know a lot of clients that we work with, a lot of friends, a lot of people that watch the show. They're still trying to figure out how to get that first hire in their marketing team. And it goes right back to what we're saying. They have to be a culture fit for the organization. And obviously you're looking at, do they share the same values we have? Is, for impact, is passion, it's that drive that goes with it, right? It's the helpfulness, dependability. Other organizations have their core values. Is there a fit there? Do they share the same purpose? Do they believe in the purpose? Do they see the vision, and can they see themselves inside that vision? For impact, we have a 3-year vision. Everyone on the team knows that we talk about it all the time. And we have people that see themselves in that vision. So there's a big culture fit going on with all of that. And on top of that, do they have the skills that can actually do the job and a proven track record? They've done it before. So I think that's number one tip is hire for both culture fit and skill.
And I'll say this, Bob, to this point, to the folks listening, if you are practicing inbound, be prepared to become very popular in your industry. And you be prepared to have people start to fall in love with how you think, how you guys operate, how you communicate. That's what happened with me at HubSpot when I started consuming their marketing material, when I was just a prospect, and know that those folks might want to work for you. And the fact of the matter is, you're going to start getting more people hitting up your careers page and your, apply here page. So you better be ready for that if you want to capture that goodwill, but also be ready for the fact you're going to have a lot of folks who would love to be able to do what you're doing, but don't have those skills, as Bob said. And we even ended up hiring a couple of those folks at HubSpot. They had the passion. They certainly had the drive, but every other day it was, can you help explain this thing to me? How's this thing work? Which we're happy to do. We train every day, but there's people who take that training because they need to get ready. If we're in the game right now, we need to be learning from each other, period, every day. And if it's more of a take because they don't quite know, they're not confident, those skills, they're not going to be confident, even if they love the culture, they love how you think. So just some bigger picture to get ready, folks. You're going to have more people interested, and Bob's right. You got to make sure that you're qualifying for skill now.
Number 2, make sure they can do the job when you hire them. So one of the things that was a big shift for us is during our hiring process and all the interviews, we tried to simulate as realistic of a situation as we possibly could. So we knew that the person can actually do the job after we offer them the position. There were no
think under pressure and being observed, right, Bob? I mean, like no matter what the exercise is you're about to describe, like, can they do whatever I'm about to do under pressure with me watching? Because that's what's going to feel like every day.
Yeah. So in certainly an agency situation, we do a role play with everyone that we hire, and we have certain situations that we go through, and depending on how the person handles it, that proves if they're ready to do the job or not. But you can do that with any marketing job, right? Again, one of the questions might be, how can we, or not even questions, but give them an activity. Say, I want you to go back and before the next meeting, I want you to come up with a strategy and a plan for how we're going to get tremendous brand awareness, and get a whole bunch of new people that don't even know we exist to know we exist. And I want to see what you come up with. Answer any questions they have, supplement them with any information that you can, and then let them go back and come back with a plan. And, if you think that you'll know if it's something that's just out of this world amazing, and then ask them, why will this work? And have them tell you stories about how they've done similar things in the past and how it worked, right?
I mean, that's the job right there, is it not, Bob?
Yeah.
We're going to have to do that as growth leaders and marketers, to do just what you've described and ask them to do. Yeah.
And, I know a lot of people on the line are going to have the excuse here saying, listen, well, I can only afford entry level. And they might say, okay, maybe my salary range, I'm going to throw a number out there. Maybe my salary is 40,000 plus benefits. That's what I can afford, right? Well, if you can stretch that a little bit and go to like 55, which is not that much different, the amount of productivity you might get from an entry level 40,000 person that you think you can get versus the amount of return you're going to get for just that extra little more that you're compensating, just get that somebody just a little bit more experienced, is going to make a big difference. And the more you can stretch that budget, and then the more aggressive you can get in your hiring process, and get the right people in your company that can actually do the job.
Quick example. I love what Tara Robertson told me when she was CMO of Hotjar. Tara is going to be speaking at Impact Live as well. Great friend of the company and the show. Is that Hotjar, when they hire, they have them do exactly this project that Bob's describing, except they like take it on steroids, where they're like, literally, we're going to hire you as a contractor. Like, if you say you can provide value and insights, prove it. We're going to pay you for it right now. Do a project, assess this particular area, come back with a report. We'll pay you for your time and that type of thing. So I thought, wow, that's really putting your money where your mouth is in terms of this exercise you're suggesting, Bob.
I've heard a couple of companies do something like that. I know Menlo Innovations over in Ann Arbor, one of the things that they do is you basically, as part of your interview, you just start working there. And it's very high risk. Obviously, you have to quit your job and start working there for a couple of weeks, but there's no guarantee you're going to have the job after a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would go that extreme.
Exactly. There's extremes.
Other companies do that.
Yeah.
But we got to move on here. So let's get to the net. So I have 6 tips. We got through 2. Number 1 was make sure you're hiring for culture and fit. Number 2 is make sure they can do the job before you hire them. Number 3, this one's important because the question comes up. I don't have enough people applying for my position, so I have to hire what I can get. So number 3 is always be recruiting, and you need to talk to hundreds of people before you hire. Okay, so maybe hundreds is like an exaggeration, but that should be the mindset. Like, I'm going to talk to hundreds of people. I'm going to talk to as many people as I possibly can to fill one position. And if I'm not getting enough in my pipeline, I need to go out to networking events. I need to go look at other team pages, my competitors' team pages, go into their LinkedIn profiles. I need to do whatever it takes to get the right people interested in my company. The fact that you don't have enough good people applying to your company is not an excuse.
No, I mean, and look at the people who are hitting up. I mean, I wrote an article about this. People who hit up your website who may not actually be wanting to buy from you. Maybe they want to work for you. Maybe they'd be a good candidate. Maybe they know somebody. We have a network of people we want to work with. And the HubSpot legends that I kind of grew up with in my career, the Mike Volpes and the Mark Roberges of the world, Bob, I mean, that recruiting was one of their biggest and highest priorities.
Oh, absolutely.
From the very beginning to the end of their tenure was always they're thinking about recruiting and staffing.
Because you're only as good as the people that are on your team. And that's the reality of it. I know one of the things that Natalie does here at Impact. Now, we are very close in the HubSpot partner community, so we don't really want to poach anyone from any other agency, especially the agencies we're very close with.
Respect.
But what we do is we do look for people that have done the job at similar agencies. Maybe they've moved on. There are a few people in our company that worked for a HubSpot partner agency, left and did something on their own, and then Natalie reached out to them and started the conversation, and they ended up coming onto our team. And they're phenomenal talent. So this is the way you need to be thinking, is that just because you put a job posting out and no one's filling it out doesn't mean that doesn't give you an excuse to hire a subpar employee.
Get out there and go to some events. Go meet people in the industry. What's number 4 there, Bob?
All right. Number 4. And I believe in this strongly. I know some people disagree with me, but I'm gonna stick in here. I don't believe in delegating the hiring process or the hiring decisions. At Impact, we're 35 people. I am still involved in every single hire at Impact. Now I've delegated some responsibilities, so I'm not doing the entire thing myself. Natalie, I don't know where I would be without Natalie. Like, she's phenomenal here, and definitely project manages the entire hiring process for us.
She's awesome.
And other people like Vin have taken over some interviews, especially for designers, developers. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that makes the decisions on who comes in to work for Impact. Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, it's on me. I'm responsible for that.
Fair enough.
Impact is only as good as the people that are in the company. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'll put my foot down. Everyone will think it's a good hire, and I'll say no. And vice versa. That happens sometimes too. I do agree that you get other people involved in the hiring process as much as you possibly can. It shouldn't really be fully a team decision, but you should get all the insights from your team. There should be several interviews, several rounds. I do believe in that. And but at the end of the day, I would not delegate to somebody. If you're in charge of a program,
the ultimate decision.
yeah, the ultimate decision. Exactly correct.
You wouldn't delegate that. I'll just quickly add here, and then we can move, because it was, even when I was applying at HubSpot in April 2011, my last interview, Bob, to your point, was with Brian Halligan. He had the final, even at 250 some odd employees, he was still, I want to meet everybody and make sure that they pass the sniff test with me as the final call. And
exactly right. That's exactly right. All right, number 5. Understand what helps them see their future at the company and make it happen. Think about that. This goes both for bringing on talent and keeping talent. People want to know what their future, the organization looks like before they even sign on with the company. They're going to know what their career path looks like. Is there alignment with their life goals? They have the opportunity to grow as a professional and learn and develop mastery. These are things that I'm looking for the company. So you need to find out what is actually important to the candidates that you're interviewing and the stars on your team, and have those conversations of what do we need to do for you to really be here in 3 years and be successful here. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to find a way to make that happen.
Yeah, with the dynamic workplaces we have now here in 2017, people want to be doing different stuff. Not a lot of people want to just be in one career track and do one thing year after year, year after year, because our economy doesn't, you can't survive just doing that. People want to increase their resume, try out different skills, explore, and keep it fresh. So I love this point, Bob, because I think you have to be thinking about what other things could you try and do here as you grow with the organization as well.
Yeah. All right. And here we are on final tip, number 6, building a successful marketing team. And obviously that means bringing star players into the organization. And that means keeping star players, right? Then that means you need to fire the poor performers. You can't keep people around that are not representative of the types of people that you want in your organization, because it sends a message to the star people that you're trying to bring in or that are in, is that mediocrity is accepted here. And when they start feeling that, then they might not see their future at that company anymore. So
what does it say about the management
if
they're not seeing that, and if they're not willing to step in and do that? It has a big effect.
Whenever you talk about building a really good team, you can't have that conversation without talking about cutting the people that aren't cutting it. And you have to do that. I know it sounds so harsh, and it sounds like I just love firing people. I sound like Donald Trump, right? Not President Donald Trump, but the apprentice Donald Trump. You're fired. But I do believe in that. I think you do have to make sure that the people on your team, everyone has to be an A player if you're really going to build a successful team.
And they'll be relieved. And what you find is the opposite, right, Bob? I mean, there's those concerns. I don't want to be the bad guy. I don't want to hurt morale. But in fact, in many cases, companies have found it'll be the opposite. Oh, thank goodness we made the hard choice. We made the right choice, though, and we moved on. And often those same people can email you back. I don't know if this has happened to you before, but to say thanks. Yeah. Thanks for showing me that potentially that, I wasn't the right fit at this time for where your organization was at, and I'm in a better place now. So thanks for helping me see that.
Iris, so we have any questions?
Yes.
I think one came in, right?
Yeah, we actually have one from Christopher Dupre.
Chris.
Longtime fan. Cross Key Architects. It's been on the Throwdown before.
Yes.
He asked about, for a small firm, about 30 people, they never had a marketing team, but they're looking to implement a marketing team of 2 people. He's wondering what the right size should be for the marketing team for that company of that size.
What I would recommend, so I know Chris and I know his function in the organization. He is the COO of the company, but he really does oversee business development. If he's going to bring on 2 people in an organization like that, and I would highly recommend this being a consideration for any company, certainly don't just do it because I said it, but consider it. Having one person that can really oversee, they have to be able to bring good ideas. So they have to be maybe at least a 3 to 5 year person with some experience at that level, some kind of seniority, a strong writer, knows digital marketing, knows how to use all the tools. If you throw something at them like video, they'll figure it out, right? So they are that kind of person. They can do all the content marketing for you, things like that. In our company, that's kind of like Ramona. She's really, really good when it comes to all that. My initial response is going to be like, all right, well, if we're going to build a marketing team, I would say, well, then also get a designer and developer who could build out all your digital assets, build out your website. But since you're saying you're only building a team of 2 and it's a marketing team, and I know that you're doing all the business development, I would say maybe consider outsourcing the development and bring somebody that can be like a BDR role into the company, can assist with some of the marketing efforts, but they're that one that's like we talked about last week, that's calling inbound leads and setting up appointments for you, Chris, or for the marketing leader, the sales leader. And they could also
so you're
manage
saying like a strong.
Yep.
I was just going to say, so you were saying a strong content marketer, strong writer, someone like Ramona can be like sort of the content marketer in chief, and a BDR who can effectively organize the contacts that come in from that, call on those folks, sift them out, and find the opportunities for Chris and the senior sales leadership to swoop in.
That's correct.
That's a good flow. And then outsource the development, like you said, because that's not something that you're going to need necessarily 365. It's skill sets that change and evolve. You want to try it, switch up different things. So you bring in that talent when you need for set projects.
That would be my recommendation for the third hire.
It's a good flow, man. I like that.
So Nick, for the sake of time, and the only reason why I'm going to rush the end of this episode is because I have an awesome speaker dinner I have to be at, and I'm already a few minutes late. So I do want to bring this home. We do want more questions. So if you have any more questions, we are available. show@impactbnd.com. Email us. We will either respond or bring up on the next episode.
Yes.
Any final thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, Bob, we do this for the love. You're late for your speaker dinner to do our little podcast here because you love our community. You love the thing that we're building here. And I just want to underscore that for the group here. That's why we're doing Impact Live, folks, because we love hanging out with you guys. We're very passionate about what we do. So if you want to come hang out with Bob and I, and our whole team and some of our favorite heroes, come see us in Hartford. And if you want to spend some one-on-one time with Bob or myself, Bob and myself, let us know. We can make it happen the day before, the day after the event. Like, that's why we do this stuff, because we love you guys and we want you to grow and succeed.
Awesome. Yeah, and I just realized too, it must sound so weird when I'm saying speaker dinner, because I know this is on the East Coast in America.
We're just getting rolling here on the East Coast.
I know, this is 10 a.m., right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So this concludes another episode of the Impact Show. Today we talked all about what did we talk about? We talked about the Wistia new tool, which is called Soapbox. We talked about
getting into messaging chat.
We talked about messaging. We talked about your experience with the sales boot camp.
Yes.
And we went really deep into how to build a successful marketing team.
But with so much more depth to go, Bob.
And we're going to continue to talk about this.
Yeah.
So send in your questions. Let us know. If you like the episode, we encourage you to please leave a review on iTunes. Help us get more of the word out, preferably a 5-star review. And that's it, man. So
that's it, my friends.
That wraps up the episode. Until next week, get out there and make it happen.